Emma stood before her mirror, smoothing the white lace of her wedding dress, but her smile refused to stay. Her heart pounded with worry. "Dad promised to walk me down the aisle," she whispered, glancing at her phone again. No message. No missed call. Just silence. Her best friend Clara, who was adjusting the veil, asked softly, "Still nothing from him?" Emma shook her head. "He said he'd be here early. But Vanessa's party starts today too, and you know Dad." Clara sighed. "You don't think he'd actually choose her event over your wedding?" Emma swallowed hard. "He's done it before." From the moment Emma could remember, her father, Mr. Richard Evans, had been her hero. Tall, confident, and always smiling. He used to wake early to make breakfast before heading to work. "You can do anything, Emma," he would tell her, tapping her forehead with pride. Back then, their home in Allentown, Pennsylvania, felt full of warmth. Her mother's laughter, the smell of tulips outside, and the sound of her father reading bedtime stories made everything safe. But those memories ended when her mother fell ill. The sickness took her life, and with it, took the family's peace. After her mother's death, things between Emma and her sister Vanessa grew tense. Vanessa, older by 3 years, started acting like she owned the house. "Dad's busy, Emma," she would snap whenever Emma complained that he never came home for dinner. "Stop being needy." Vanessa began running errands, cooking, and making decisions their mother once handled. Their father, too heartbroken to notice, praised Vanessa for being responsible. Meanwhile, Emma felt invisible. Even small victories, like a perfect report card or an art prize, went unnoticed because Vanessa made sure her father never saw them. One evening when Emma was 15, she overheard Vanessa talking on the phone. "Dad doesn't need to go to her award night," Vanessa said coldly. "She said she doesn't want him there anyway." Emma froze outside the door, tears filling her eyes. The next day, she sat alone at the ceremony, clutching her certificate while other students posed with their proud parents. Later that night, her father texted, "Congratulations, sweetheart. Couldn't make it, had a client dinner." The pain hardened something in her heart. She promised herself that one day, she'd build a life where she was seen, even if her family refused to look. Years passed, and Emma finally did just that. College gave her freedom. She met Daniel, a kind, funny man who made her laugh until her sides hurt. "Your smile makes my whole day better," he used to say, brushing her hair away from her face. Together they built a life in Philadelphia, one filled with mutual respect and love. But now, on the morning of their wedding, old fears returned. What if her father really didn't show up? What if he once again proved that Vanessa would always come first? Clara squeezed her hand gently. "Even if he doesn't come," she said, "you'll still walk down that aisle. And you'll do it with your head high." A few months before the wedding, Emma finally gathered the courage to call her father. She was nervous but hopeful. "Dad, we've set a date," she said, trying to sound cheerful. "June 15th. There was a pause, then his calm voice replied, "That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'll put it in my calendar." Her heart lifted a little. "Dad," she continued softly, "would you walk me down the aisle?" For a moment, silence filled the line. Then he said, "I'd be honored, Emma." She hung up smiling through tears, thinking maybe, just maybe, things were changing for the better. Weeks rolled by, and wedding planning filled every corner of Emma's life. Her fiancé Daniel helped whenever he could, but it was his mother, Mrs. Harris, who became her biggest supporter. They visited venues, tasted cakes, and even picked the flowers together. "You're going to make a stunning bride," Mrs. Harris said one afternoon, watching Emma twirl in her lace gown. "Your mother would be so proud." Emma blinked back tears. "I miss her every day," she whispered. "But you've been like a second mom to me." Mrs. Harris squeezed her hand gently. "That's because you deserve to be loved like family." Meanwhile, Vanessa started posting cryptic things on social media. "Big event coming soon," one caption read. "The biggest day of my career." When Emma asked about it, Vanessa brushed her off. "Oh, it's just something for work," she said with a fake laugh. Don't worry about it. But as the posts continued, photos of event halls, catering samples, and dresses, Emma's gut told her something was wrong. Daniel noticed her unease. You think she's planning something on purpose? He asked one night. Emma sighed. With Vanessa, nothing she does is ever innocent. Her worst fears came true 3 months before the wedding. Vanessa called one Sunday afternoon, her voice sweet like syrup. Hey, little sis. Just wanted to tell you before you see it online. I'm hosting my broker celebration on June 15th. Can you believe it? Finally hit my sales target. Emma's blood ran cold. Vanessa, that's my wedding day, she said slowly. You got the save the date 8 months ago. Vanessa laughed lightly. Oh really? Must have slipped my mind. But don't worry, mine's at 11 a.m., yours is later, right? Dad can come to both. Emma clenched her jaw. The venues are 2 hours apart, Vanessa. Then he'll drive fast, her sister replied and hung up. Emma called her father right away, panic shaking her voice. Dad, did you know Vanessa planned her party on my wedding day? She asked. Yes, she mentioned it, he said casually. Unfortunate timing, but she worked hard for that achievement. Emma felt her chest tighten. But you promised to walk me down the aisle. He hesitated. I'll try to make it work, sweetheart. I can attend her event in the morning and then drive over to yours. It's 2 hours away, Dad, she pleaded. You won't make it in time. Let's not make this bigger than it is, he said, ending the call. Emma sat frozen, realizing that once again, her father was choosing Vanessa over her. Days turned into weeks, and Emma could feel her father slipping away again. Each phone call grew shorter, colder. Dad, are you still sure about the wedding? She asked one evening. You haven't said much lately. He sighed. Sweetheart, I just don't know if I can make both events work. Vanessa's celebration is very important to her career. Emma bit her lip, her heart pounding. And my wedding isn't important. There was silence before he said, You'll understand one day. When he hung up, Emma sat in the dark, staring at her phone, realizing the answer she feared was already clear. The breaking news came 2 weeks before the wedding. Emma was reviewing her seating chart when her phone rang. Emma, her father began awkwardly. I've been thinking about the schedule. I won't be able to make it to the ceremony on time. Vanessa's event might run longer. Her hand trembled. So you're not walking me down the aisle. It's not about choosing, he said defensively. It's just timing. Maybe Daniel's father can do it. I'll still come for the reception. His words hit her like glass shattering inside her chest. Someone else, she whispered. You think someone else can replace you? I'll see you that night, he said and hung up. When Daniel got home, he found her sitting on the floor surrounded by wedding plans, her face buried in her hands. He's not coming, she whispered as he rushed to her side. He's choosing Vanessa again. Daniel's arms tightened around her. Emma, I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. She cried quietly against his shoulder. Maybe we should postpone, he said softly. Give him a chance to come around. Emma shook her head through tears. No, that's what Vanessa wants. I'm not letting her ruin this too. The next morning, Daniel's mother called. Emma, honey, I heard what happened, she said, her voice full of compassion. Emma felt her throat close. I don't even know what to do anymore. I keep wondering what's wrong with me, why he keeps picking her. Mrs. Harris spoke gently but firmly. Nothing's wrong with you, dear. Your father is the one who's wrong. And you must not let this take away your joy. This wedding is about love, not about his mistakes. Her words wrapped around Emma like a warm blanket. But later that night, as Emma sat staring at her reflection, one thought haunted her. Who will walk me down the aisle? The idea of walking alone made her chest ache. The next day, she received an unexpected call. Emma. It's Jack, Daniel's uncle said. His voice was calm, the kind that made people feel safe. Daniel told me about your father. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Emma smiled weakly. Thank you, Jack. I guess I should be used to disappointment by now. He paused. Don't ever get used to being treated less than you deserve. Jack continued softly. You know, when I graduated college, my father refused to attend. Said literature wasn't a real degree. I spent years trying to win his approval. Never got it. Emma's heart ached at his honesty. That must have hurt, she said quietly. It did, Jack replied. But I learned something. Real family shows up no matter what. His words echoed in her mind long after the call ended. A few days later, Mrs. Harris invited Emma to lunch. I wanted to tell you something about Jack, she began over coffee. When I married Henry, my father refused to come. Said a second marriage was shameful. Jack walked me down the aisle instead. Emma blinked in surprise. He did. Yes, Mrs. Harris smiled warmly. He told me, you deserve to be given away by someone who celebrates you. Emma's eyes filled with tears. He said something similar to me, she whispered. Maybe you should ask him, Mrs. Harris suggested gently. That evening, Emma couldn't stop thinking about it. Could she really ask Jack? He wasn't her family by blood, but he had always been kind, always present. The next morning she called him. Jack, can we meet for coffee? She asked nervously. Of course, he said cheerfully. At the cafe, Jack was already waiting with 2 cups and his usual calm smile. I took the liberty of ordering your vanilla latte, he said. You remembered, she laughed softly. They chatted for a while before she finally gathered her courage. Jack, I want to ask you something important. Jack's smile faded to gentle curiosity. Anything. Emma took a deep breath. Would you walk me down the aisle? For a moment he didn't speak. His eyes glistened. Emma, are you sure? This is a moment meant for someone you're close to. I am sure, she said firmly. You've shown me more kindness and support than my own father in years. You've been there when it mattered. Jack reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Then I would be honored. Truly honored. Emma's eyes filled with tears, but for the first time in weeks, they were tears of relief. From that day, the heaviness in Emma's heart began to lift. Jack's quiet strength filled the space her father had left empty. When Daniel heard the news, he smiled. He's the perfect person for it, he said. My uncle will make sure you feel proud every step of the way. The days before the wedding passed in a blur of final fittings, vendor calls and guests arriving. But beneath it all, Emma felt peace return. She finally understood what Mrs. Harris had meant. Family is not just blood, it's who shows up when it matters. The morning sun poured softly through the hotel window, painting the room in gold. Emma sat surrounded by her bridesmaids, laughter mixing with the hum of hairdryers. Nervous, Clara teased, adjusting a curl of Emma's hair. More like terrified, Emma admitted with a shaky smile. I dreamed last night that I walked alone and tripped on my dress. Well, not today, Clara said firmly. You've got Jack now. And you're marrying the man who adores you. Emma took a deep breath, glancing at her phone. No messages from her father. Not even a simple good luck. At exactly noon, there was a knock at her door. Come in, Emma called, expecting a bridesmaid. But when the door opened, Jack stood there, dressed sharply in a charcoal tuxedo, holding a small white box. I hope I'm not interrupting, he said politely. Emma smiled through the mirror. You're right on time. He handed her the box. Something old and something blue, he said with a wink. Inside lay a delicate handkerchief embroidered with soft blue flowers. It belonged to my mother, Jack added softly. She carried it on her wedding day in 1930. I'd like you to have it. Tears filled Emma's eyes. Jack, that's beautiful. Thank you. Jack smiled warmly. I wanted you to have a reminder that love can last, even when people fail us. My mother always believed that weddings are new beginnings. Emma wiped her tears gently and nodded. Then I'll carry it with me. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You look stunning, Emma. Your mom would be proud. Do you really think so? She asked quietly. I know so, he said. Then, with a soft pat on her hand, he turned toward the door. I'll be waiting in the lobby when you're ready. At 3:45, the ceremony music began. The garden terrace was bathed in golden afternoon light, the scent of roses drifting through the air. Guests turned in their seats as Emma appeared at the top of the aisle. Jack offered his arm. Ready, he whispered. Emma nodded, her heart pounding. Let's do this. As they stepped forward, the soft notes of canon in D floated across the garden. Daniel looked up, his eyes shining as if he were seeing her for the first time. Emma blinked back tears. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen. Every step felt like a small victory. When they reached the altar, Jack leaned in and whispered, You've got this, my dear. Emma squeezed his hand before he gently placed hers into Daniel's. The crowd clapped softly, and Jack stepped aside with quiet pride. The ceremony unfolded beautifully. Emma and Daniel exchanged vows they had written themselves, promising to choose each other every day, even when life grew hard. When the officiant said, You may kiss the bride, Daniel cupped her face tenderly, and the guests erupted in applause. The reception that followed was a blur of laughter, dancing, and toasts. Jack's speech made everyone emotional. Being asked to walk Emma down the aisle reminded me that family is not about who shares your name, he said, raising his glass. It's about who shows up when you need them most. The guests cheered, and Emma felt tears roll down her cheeks again. Daniel whispered, He's right. You've built your own family, Em. She nodded. I finally have the one I always dreamed of. It was nearly 8:30 when Emma's cousin Thomas arrived late, slightly out of breath. I'm so sorry, he said, hugging her quickly. Traffic was terrible. Emma smiled. I'm just glad you made it. Thomas looked uneasy. Actually, I stopped by Vanessa's party first. Emma froze. You what? I thought I could attend both, he admitted. But Emma, her party. It wasn't what she said. It was just 15 people in her apartment. No company event. No award. Emma stared at him, stunned. You mean she lied? Yes, Thomas nodded. She planned it on purpose to keep your dad away. Emma's stomach twisted. She told him I didn't want him there, didn't she? Thomas nodded sadly. Exactly that. I overheard her tell him months ago that you only invited him out of obligation. She said it would embarrass you if he came. Emma pressed her hand to her mouth, anger and sorrow mixing inside her. All this time, she whispered, I thought he just didn't care. He was manipulated, Thomas said. Vanessa's been feeding him lies since high school. Emma looked down, her fingers trembling. I should have known. Before she could respond, a murmur spread across the room. Daniel turned, his expression darkening. Emma, he said quietly, your dad's here. She spun around and froze. Mr. Evans stood at the entrance, still in his suit, holding a gift bag and looking uncomfortable. Sorry I'm late, he said, forcing a smile. Vanessa's event went longer than expected. Emma's chest tightened. It was never a real event, she whispered under her breath. But instead she forced a polite nod. You made it for the last hour, she said coolly. That's something. He looked around the hall awkwardly. It looks like a nice wedding, he said, as if commenting on a stranger's party. Emma bit her lip, then asked evenly, Would you like a drink? They walked to the bar, the silence between them sharp and heavy. After a moment he asked, So, who ended up walking you down the aisle? Jack Harris, Emma replied. Daniel's uncle. Her father frowned. That older man in the tuxedo? Yes, she said calmly. He's been like family to me. Mr. Evans scoffed. You let a stranger replace your father. Emma turned to face him fully. No, Dad. I let a real family member take your place. Her father's face turned red. That's not fair, Emma. I've always been there for you, he insisted. Emma shook her head. You missed my school awards, my college graduation, and now my wedding ceremony. That's not being there, Dad. That's showing up when it's convenient. Before he could reply, Thomas walked up nervously. Uncle Richard, he said, there's something you should see. He pulled out his phone and opened the text messages from Vanessa. She admitted it, sir. She lied about her event and about Emma. Mr. Evans stared at the screen, confusion washing over his face. This can't be true. Thomas nodded. It is. I spoke to her co-workers. There was no promotion, no company event, nothing. She planned that party just to make you miss Emma's wedding. Mr. Evans looked between them, his voice trembling. Vanessa would never. She would, Emma interrupted, her voice firm but sad. She's been doing it for years, Dad. Ever since Mom died. She made sure you saw me as ungrateful so she could be your favorite. Her father's hand went to his forehead. She told me you didn't want me to walk you down the aisle, he whispered. That you said it would embarrass you. Emma's eyes filled with tears. That's a lie. I begged you to be there. Before her father could respond, Jack walked over, calm and composed. Mr. Evans, he greeted politely. I'm Jack Harris. Mr. Evans stiffened. So you're the man who took my place. I didn't take your place, Jack said evenly. I filled a space that should never have been empty. Emma held her breath. Jack continued gently. Being a father means showing up when it matters most. You still have a chance to be that man, but only if you're willing to see the truth. Mr. Evans stared at him for a long moment, shame replacing anger. I need to talk to Vanessa, he muttered, his voice breaking. Dad, Emma said softly. Not now. Please. It's my wedding. Just, let's not do this here. But he was already dialing his phone, stepping outside the reception hall. Through the glass doors, Emma could see him pacing, his expression torn between fury and disbelief. Daniel slipped his arm around her shoulders. You okay? He asked quietly. I don't know, she admitted. I think part of me always wanted this truth to come out, but I didn't think it would hurt this much. Jack placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Truth hurts, but it also heals, he said gently. 10 minutes later, her father returned, looking pale. She hung up on me, he said bitterly. She admitted nothing and said I was being manipulated by all of you. Emma's heart sank. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I told you she'd twist it. Mr. Evans looked at her, his eyes finally softening. I've been so blind, he whispered. All those years, I thought you were pushing me away. I didn't see what she was doing. You didn't want to see, Emma replied gently. It was easier to believe her. He nodded slowly. You're right. I failed you. Jack stepped closer. It's not too late to make it right, he said. Mr. Evans met his eyes and said sincerely, Thank you for being there when I wasn't. You did something I should have done myself. Jack nodded humbly. I only did what any decent person would do for someone they care about. Emma reached out and touched her father's arm. Dad, I don't hate you. I just needed you to see me. He blinked away tears. I see you now, Emma. And I'm so sorry I missed your moment. Then be here for what comes next, she said softly. That's all I want. Later that night, after the sparkler send-off, Emma and Daniel drove away under the glittering lights, hand in hand. You did it, Daniel said, smiling. You faced everything. Emma exhaled deeply. It feels like I left my past behind today. No, he corrected her gently. You didn't leave it, you changed it. She leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. You know what's funny, she murmured. I was so worried about who would walk me down the aisle. But now I realize the person who walked beside me was the one who truly cared. 2 weeks later, while on their honeymoon in Greece, Emma received a voicemail from her father. His voice trembled as he spoke. Emma, I confronted Vanessa. You were right. She admitted it. She's been lying to both of us for years. I can't believe I let her destroy what we had. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn your forgiveness. Emma listened quietly, standing by the sea. Daniel came up behind her. You okay? He asked. She smiled faintly. Yeah. For once, I actually am. Months passed, and slowly, her father began rebuilding their relationship. He visited often, joined family dinners, and even grew close to Jack. One evening, Emma overheard him telling Jack, I'll never forget what you did. You gave my daughter the love and protection I failed to give. Jack smiled kindly. We all make mistakes, Richard. What matters is how we fix them. Vanessa stayed distant, sending only short messages. Emma had stopped waiting for an apology. Some people can't face their guilt, she told Daniel one night. And that's okay. I've forgiven her anyway. 1 year later, at their anniversary dinner, Jack stood to make a toast. 1 year ago, I had the honor of walking this beautiful woman down the aisle, he said warmly. It began as an act of kindness, but it became one of the greatest blessings of my life. Emma, you reminded us all that family isn't about blood. It's about who chooses to love you, stand by you, and show up when it counts. The room filled with applause. Emma looked at Daniel, smiling through tears. You know, she said softly, maybe everything had to happen exactly this way. He squeezed her hand. Because this, us, them, all of it, it's real. And as she looked around at the faces of her chosen family, Emma finally felt whole.